We love you, man. We're pumped to have you on the team. We got December 2nd. We're going to tee that up. But we want to talk some Leafs as well, first and foremost. Then we'll
Sure.
get some OHL conversation with you. But the
Yeah.
Nylander brothers, how cool is that to see that?
I love it, right? I mean,
Yeah.
hockey at the end of it. I mean, hockey when we all start is all about family, and it's about mom and dad and brothers and sisters and around the rink and all that. And you love to see it happen when everybody's a grown up. Like I think we all wondered, even going back to when Alex Nylander was a first round pick of the Buffalo Sabres. Carter, you would have known him well, as you mentioned, playing in the Swords organization. I know he was a big video game guy in Rochester, was what I was always told. Like he was like the all a lot of the guys. Patrick Laine was a big one as well, but he's a big video game guy in Roch. But I mean, I just think it's cool. Like I have no idea who would have been more nervous last night, Alex or Willie. For that one, how much of a thrill that must have been for Michael Nylander as well. One of the great and underrated centers of his time. One of the best centers that Yager, I know he had Mario, but one of the best centers that Yager ever had when he played with the New York Rangers. I just thought it was a cool moment. Like he was like, okay in the game, like nothing special. I don't know that in a moment like that with that much, emotion and maybe nervous anticipation or anxiety, like you can expect a whole lot. I thought he was just okay, but I just thought it was cool, whether it's, Pavel and Valeri getting together or whether it's Alex and Willie getting together. Just kind of reminds people that at the heart of all of it, there's something special when brothers get together in the NHL.
Yeah, it's so impressive, obviously. And,
Yeah.
obviously not far from Thunder Bay, seeing the Stahl brothers, all three. I saw a photo. I was actually on Instagram. They're talking about
Oh
brothers in the
yeah.
league and seeing Jared, Jordan, and Eric all play together. And, and again, with this Leafs team, they're obviously playing in the right direction here now. What do you
Yep.
think, like, moving forward would be the piece they start to add, when you really start talking about, making a run come playoff time?
Goals, right? Like the problem is not defending. I mean, I guess the main thing, I keep drawing the analogy with the hospital bracelet, but keep the goaltenders healthy. Carter, I heard you mention a second ago on that Carcone save. Like the most impressive thing about it was that Joseph Wall stayed in the game and didn't get hurt, because it's a moment like that you look at, and how many times have we seen, oh, great save, but he's making the skate to the bench, or here comes the trainer. Stolarz has been the story this year. If Joe Wall can stay healthy, then all of a sudden that takes care of that problem. And the one thing that we've seen in the playoffs for the Maple Leafs year in and year out is an inability to find the back of the net. I know it may sound folly when you have, Matthews and John Tavares and William Nylander and Mitch Marner in the lineup, but really come playoff time, their issue is goals. And provided everybody can stay healthy and Brad Treliving can address that, maybe, just maybe, this team finally has a run. We
I think
allowed
I
to
ask
say
this
that?
question
Wonder
every
about
year,
that
Marek.
now? I
I ask
know.
this question every year, man.
But here's the thing.
Yeah.
Okay, so every season there are some teams where I don't want to say the regular season is meaningless, because that's frivolous. The regular season does mean something, and I think winning the President's Trophy is an actual accomplishment. But for some teams, there are no answers in the regular season. All the answers, all the questions are all in the playoffs. For the longest time before they went to the Stanley Cup final against the Boston Bruins in 2011, that was the Vancouver Canucks. Whatever about the regular season, what are they going to? And that team is Toronto. And I mean, every year there's a few teams where it doesn't really matter what happens in the regular season. There's not going to be anything you're going to hang your hat on from the regular season. Maybe watching a player, shoot for an individual award, but all the questions, all the answers for this team are in the playoffs. This is a team that starts game 83. That's when all the questions start to get answered.
Yeah, and I think for this team, like, moving forward, again, I guess it feels like a formality at this point, Jay. Like, the regular season is what it is.
Yeah.
But we start talking about some of these players that, may be the odd man out, especially once everyone gets healthy. But do you look at, like, Fraser Mitten and Eastern Cowan as, like, those untouchables moving forward? Or these guys that are going to be the next wave of superstars, headed into this Leafs roster?
I don't think untouchable is too strong. I mean, first of all, Easton Cowan may be it's a fat. Okay, so here's what I think a lot about Easton Cowan the last couple of weeks with this NCAA CHL story. And I know it's the London Knights and it's the mini NHL team, and I know, hey, we can compete against the American Hockey League. That's who we're competing against. I get it. But if you're allowed to go to NCAA hockey this year out of the CHL, do you think that's where we would see Easton Cowan this year? that he wouldn't
Yeah.
be in London. Like it would be like Michigan. By the way, Michigan is going to be super aggressive. Like I think they're expecting like some big name CHLers next year, but like Michigan, BU, Wisconsin, like take your pick.
It's
Like
true.
that's probably where we would see Easton Cowan this year if what we're seeing now would have happened last season, because
Well, it's like,
he's at that too good for the OHL level,
yeah,
right?
yeah. No, I was gonna add that. Like, what else is like the guy? I don't think he can tell you the last time he didn't register a point in an OHL game. It's been that long.
Was it
You
like
know,
15 game streak now or something like that. It's
it's
crazy.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah,
But he's like
good,
That's
good
my
player.
wondering too. Is like you watch him in camp, you're like, what else does he have to prove? Like he'd be the perfect example of a guy like a Minton right now. I know they're a year difference, but like to
Yeah.
be in the AHL would be huge and beneficial, I think, to Cowan.
It would, and how quickly that conversation has now changed to, hey, you know what? He should probably go play college hockey for a year. Like that's the
It
way it's
is.
like. We know that all these arrangements and relationships, that everything is going to change. And eventually, once the lawsuit is done, then the NHL will get involved. As long as there's a lawsuit that is active, I can't see the NHL. I'll put it this way: I can't see the NHL sitting around on a Monday morning saying, like, we should get involved because we feel like having our emails subpoenaed. Like, I can't. I just, they're gonna wait until all of this is done, and then, like, don't you get the feeling, guys, that the NHL is gonna come in and say, okay, and this is gonna be like a Bill Daly file. Okay, this is how it's all going to work. And these are going to be the relationships between this organization and that organization. This is going to be the new CHL NHL agreement. And this is what it's going to mean for duration you have to sign a player after he gets drafted. And maybe we do something with the draft age. I don't know. But at a certain point, the NHL is going to come into this thing and say, okay, these are going to be the relationships now. And all those conversations, right? And when we had the same conversation about, Taylor Hall, he's too good for the OHL, but should he be in the NHL right now? Maybe the American League. We've had every year, there's a few players we have the convo about. We're having it about Easton Cowan right now. All of a sudden, now there is another option. We never thought it would be NCAA hockey, but it is. It will be Division I. You know what? You sort of outgrow the OHL, but you're not quite there yet for the NHL. You know what? Let me tell you about Colorado College. Let me tell you about Nodak. Let me tell you about Penn State, I think that's going to be the new model, and that's why I say, like, Easton Cowan would probably be playing Division I right now.
Yeah, and this is a good segue for me because this week I got a call from I played at UMass Lowell, so alumni there, Norm Bazin, successful coach, called me this week, asked to reach out. I've had conversations. They're looking for goalies from the OHL now. He called me. He's like, do I know anyone? Because he knows I train goalies and help out in the summer. Now with OHL expansion, these rules, what is your take on this OHL expansion now, as it starts to grow? And again, it's such a changing landscape right now here for the OHL and the NCAA.
So Elliott reported on the weekend on Hockey Night that the OHL is going to go. I believe the term was it aggressive expansion? Am I saying that right? I should probably have texted Freeds before I came on. Aggressive expansion. That's consistent with what I've heard as well. So about a month and a half ago, I reported that in the summer, I believe it was late August, two teams from the USHL, Muskegon and Youngstown, had approached the Ontario League about joining that league, or what the process could have been, or maybe just sort of, I think it was stronger than just, a mild curiosity and kicking tires. Like, I believe they're serious. Reported that. I believe that is still, I'm of the belief that is still being discussed. I don't know if there are more teams in the USHL that are interested or how that might work, but that is still a discussion point in the Ontario League. So I think that's going to be another one of the sidebar questions we have here. What is the OHL going to look like? There's now rumors in the QMJHL of them expanding into the United States. I've heard Manchester, by the way, guys. I've heard Manchester is perhaps a destination in the queue. I do wonder if there'll be a struggle between the QMJHL and the OHL over New York State, which right now is jurisdiction of the OHL. But I mean, if I'm the Q right now, I'm saying, like, look how much the Western League has to draw from. What about the OHL? Like, okay, take your pick. Like, you can have New York State or you can have Florida. You can't have both. Give us one of them. I think we're wondering what that's going to look like. I think we're wondering what the USHL out of all of this is going to look like. The BCHL is, most likely will go through more pain as they're starting to lose players. And the whispers are out there about which teams are staying and which teams are going. And And the Chris Gear is doing the review of which teams should be in the new junior A, B, C, HL, et cetera, et cetera. So that one's going to be a tricky one to sort out. But as far as the OHL goes, like Carter, this is a 20-team league. Right now it's a great hothouse for talent. It almost seems as if this is the sort of perfect hothouse based on the skill and talent that is in Ontario and all of the United States regions that the OHL can draw from. Now they'll be drawing from more with the new reality of NCAA options being available. It's a league that's going to grow. I don't know how many. I've heard everything from 2 to 6. 6, of course, being the maximum. That one would be if there's like 6 new teams, like that's massive. But again, these are all, you guys hear it too. These are all the whispers of things that are going on right now. It's November. These are all things that, of course, have to be dealt with throughout the year. But I still think we're a little bit of a ways away from anything declarative about next year. But I do think that the appetite for expansion in the OHL is really high, and I expect it to happen. And again, those 2 USHL teams are still under discussion.
What a fun time to be alive. Yeah.
And then what about and I mentioned this to Dan McKenzie last week when I talked to him, the president of the CHL. Could we see a day where the development program team finds its way to the OHL?
I like that.
I don't know.
That'd be sick as well.
I don't know how that would work, right? Because there's a draft, and can you not trade? Or are they? I don't know. Like even with like the USHL teams, like a lot of the players on these teams have already been drafted by OHL teams. So would they stay with the USHL team, or would they have to go to the OHL team that already drafted them? So there's a lot of sidebars to all this. But Carter, I apologize. This is a very long-winded answer. And the real answer is yes, there will be more teams in the OHL.
Yeah, that's okay, man. We knew what we signed up for. We love it. We love it.
Yeah, no, you're a hockey encyclopedia. We love you for that. Lastly, so we had a chance to interview Jack Ivankovich last week at Brampton. What a great kid. But the CHL USA Prospect Challenge. What do you think of this new mini format, a 2-game mini series here with the CHL and the US? I think under 18 team.
Development team. Yeah.
Who are some players to watch this week?
Okay, so first of all, you're going to see in these 2 games, no joke, you'll see minimum half of the first round of this year's NHL draft in these 2 games. And the CHL is absolutely stacked now. Unfortunately, Mooney's injured for USA, and that's going to be a drag. But you're going to see half the NHL draft this year's first round in this game. I'll tell you what. Lots about Porter Martone of Brampton, and rightfully so. He may go first overall. Michael Misa of Saginaw, legit, smashed some records here. Granted exceptional status, play for the Mississauga Senators of the GTHL. The one guy that I keep coming back to, and I'll admit, this is a bias that I have. Like, I have a bias towards defensemen. Like, if you have 2 players of equal value in a draft, I always defer to the defenseman. Like, I'm the guy who would have said, we should take Victor Hedman, not John Tavares, first overall. Like, I'm that guy. Okay. Just, I have a positional bias that way. Mm-hmm. Matthew Schaefer is special. Matthew Schaefer is a defenseman that plays with the Erie Otters, played Halton Hills in his minor hockey. I have not seen a player skate like Jay Bouwmeester before until I saw Matthew Schaefer. I think he's a dark horse to go first overall, but for a team that has the same positional bias that I do, it wouldn't shock me if by the end of this season, Matthew Schaefer distinguishes himself as tops in this draft class. I know what Misa's doing. I know what Porter Martone is doing. And man, Martone is just a giant of a man too. I know that James Higgins is doing as well. And right now he's, I don't want to say consensus, but most have him number 1. But Matthew Schaefer is special. You talk about great skating defenseman and offensively minded defenseman, and can make a great first pass and can join the rush and get back first. Like, he is that guy. Like, honestly, if you guys haven't seen him skate, it's worth the price of admission, because if you take the name bar off, you look at him and you go like, that's Jay Bouwmeester. Like, just put like a Medicine Hat Tigers jersey on. You're like, that's Jay Bouwmeester. Like, have I like transported back into time? That's what you say. That's what you say when you see Matthew Schaefer skate.
Marek, excellent stuff. What can we expect December 2nd, next Monday, man? The launch of the sheet with Jeff Marek. I love that.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So, I mean, this one sort of exists in a weird time of the day, right, Nick? It's like 3:00
Yeah.
Eastern. So like what happened the night before has already been dealt with. And maybe you're now just starting to think about the games coming up that day. So it gives us a lot of time to figure out what the power topic of that day is. And that's going to be sort of strategy of what we try to do every day. Like if we can present from a 360-degree view, the big power topic of the day, not necessarily breaking down like, the Minnesota Wild's power play or, things like that. Then I think we're doing our job. Just every day figuring out what that power topic. There's gonna be, put this way, I don't want to spoil it, but there's gonna be a lot of sort of treats along the way for everybody, and a lot of my long-winded hockey stories, I'll apologize in advance, and arcane, stupid Darcy Hordichuk facts, but that make Carter Huttton giggle. Damn it! So it's worth it.
Well worth it. Well worth it. We look forward to it. That's for sure, Jeff.
I would say my prognostication, it won't be an hour show in a year from now. We're going to be looking at 3-4 hours. We need that. We need that.
Nick, like, you know me. Like, you swear I get paid by the word. Like, it's not going to be an hour show. An hour-ish is what it's going to be.
Well, Marek, I would say good luck, but you don't need it. You're going to smash it. We are so happy to have you. Appreciate your time today, man.
I'm dragging you two guys on, so don't worry. I'm dragging you in my door.
Sounds good. Take care, okay?
Look forward to it.
Be good, fellas.
Make sure to check out more of our content right here on the Leafs Nation YouTube page. We got long form interviews, we got clips, we got epic rants by Jay Roseau. We simply have it all. And don't forget, you can find out much more at theleafsnation.com. Thanks so much for watching.